We're going to kick off with the Flashback Friday. Forum Flashback Forum. What do we call it?
Forum
Forum
Flashback.
Flashback.
Yeah.
Brought to you by Flashback Decoys.
Yes.
Okay. Wait till my guts are done grumbling. All right, everybody, we are back with another episode of The Hail Call. I'm joined this week with Matt and Teddy. We're going to kick it off right away this week. We're going to skip over the weather because I've been told that we talk about weather a lot. It's springtime. It's been pretty nice, I think, everywhere kind of across the country. So we're going to kick it right off into our flashback forum topics, our forum flashback brought to you by Flashback Decoys. Matt, what is our forum flashback for this week?
Well, we have a couple. Teddy, I think you have one, but I have one pulled up here. Doesn't really go into the past, looking into the future or anything like that, but just a timely topic. How do you cook a turkey?
Ooh,
There's only one way.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree. There's really only one way.
I had this
both you-
conversation
Both you
with
say it on three. One, two,
One, two.
three.
Nuggets.
turkey nuggets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had this conversation with man, I'll try not to call him out, but with a guy who doesn't turkey hunt. And he was like, "Man, I'm listening to your podcast and y'all make these turkey nuggets sound incredible. Like I'm almost ready to go shoot a turkey." And I was like, "Dude, outside of turkey hunting, I don't know. I mean, if you just wanted the meat, I don't know why you wouldn't go."
Mm-hmm. They're so good. Like, obviously everybody likes chicken nuggets, but when you're able to like kind of do it yourself and like kind of choose your batter, it kind of takes it's not like you're going to a restaurant and just getting generic from the bag deep fried, frozen chicken tenders. There's so many different ways, there's different ways that you can kind of tweak your nuggets. So like some people soak their turkey in milk. So I kind of will cut up my nuggets and I'll soak them in milk, overnight. Some guys are soaking them in pickle juice. Some people use like a mustard for a binder to get their breading to stick. Some people will just use an egg wash, kind of like you would on fish. Some people don't use any type of, stick on there to get your batter on. No binder. There's so many different ways, but I don't know that I've ever had a turkey nugget that was bad. Maybe if you overcooked it, like if you burnt it and it got a little
Still eat them.
too hot in the fryer, but it probably would still be good.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a lot of really good ways to have turkeys, right? So I mean, I've had it in the crock pot. I've done it on the smoker and stuff like that.
Have you done
I
anything
think-
with the legs?
I did legs like in a crock pot one time, with like a cream of something soup. It was a long time ago because once I discovered turkey nuggets, I've just never looked back.
I've heard more recently, like if you keep the legs and thighs, you got like really the only way to do them is like a pressure cooker or a slow cooker because of all the tendons.
Yeah.
And you can, if you do it that way, you can get the tendons out a lot easier.
Mhm.
But God, I was listening to some podcast or something, and apparently between the thighs and legs, like you have like another,
Whoa.
I gotta say, like at least like I think he said like five. It's got to be more than 5 pounds of meat there.
Oh, I thought you were talking about physically between the thighs and legs. I was like, I
Oh
don't know
my
what you're
God.
getting at here. I don't know that
No,
there's a lot to
that's
eat
not even
there.
what I was thinking of.
Yeah. No, there definitely is a lot of meat. There's a lot of good meat. It's just, I think it can be really hard to cook.
Yeah.
In a wild turkey versus your Thanksgiving turkey that you're getting out of the freezer section at your local grocery store are obviously much, much different. And how I know this firsthand, I actually, long story here, I came home one night and at 10:30 at night, I'm driving down the road right by my house, and there is an all-white turkey standing in the middle of the road.
No shit.
Middle of October, just standing there. I'll have to send you the video. And I was like, I stopped my truck and I'm like, what the hell is this? Sure enough, farm-raised turkey, just standing in the middle of the road. So I pull over and I'm like, well, this is crazy. It is dark out. And I go walking over to it. I walk right up to it. Thing just stands there and looks at me. I mean, they have no idea. Like, certainly not a very smart animal, a barn raised turkey. And there's kind of like cars going down the road, and I'm like, somebody's just going to hit this thing. So, being the, outdoorsman I am, kind of ring this turkey and bring it home. Right. So it had like a little bit of blood. I'm assuming it fell off the truck. And I confirmed this by the next day, farther up the on-ramp next to my house, there was a second one that was laying there dead on the side of the road. So I take this turkey home and clean it. They are nowhere even close structurally to a wild turkey.
Really?
When you clean a wild turkey, I guess I don't know what the technical term is, but that part of them when they strut, there's that big like air sac, kind of that big jelly stack on the top of the breast. They don't really have that on like a tame turkey, from what I remember. But like the meat it's a lot whiter, and like this turkey that you could tell by looking at it, the thing was only a few months old. It's not like your farm raised turkeys are certainly, I don't think, even get to see a year of life.
Yeah, no.
They're raising them so fast. Oh, I mean, it was heavy. It was heavy. I mean, it had to be live weight, had to be probably in the mid to upper 20s for weight, I would say. The legs were, the legs, I mean, were like stocky, kind of like yellowish color. They're just not built like a wild turkey really in any way. I mean, they're just born, raised, and bred to get as fast as they can, to go as big as they can, as fast as they can. Mm-hmm. And we ate some. Actually, I think, Teddy, you probably had some when you were here for the fish fry a couple years ago. Would have been that same turkey. Made nuggets out of it. Not going to put it no, I wouldn't even put it in the roaster or anything. It tasted just as good. I would say for nuggets, you can't even tell a difference between a tame turkey and a wild turkey.
Now, this might be slightly off topic, but do you think that they probably have around the same diet and supplements that a tame chicken would have? Like a farm chicken?
Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're just made. I mean, but you look at that's how our industry is, right? Mm-hmm. We have to turn over these animals to get more in there because we obviously have a threshold that we need to meet for the amount of turkey that this country requires. Same thing with chicken wings and stuff like that. I mean, like, so yeah, it was, I don't know. Anyway, back on topic. There certainly is a difference between a tame turkey and a wild turkey. I have had smoked tame turkey. I think it's way better tame than it is wild. Mm-hmm. Now I know we're going to get people that say, I shoot turkeys every spring and they taste unbelievable. Send me some. I'll be the judge of that.
Yeah.
But yeah. I'm not much for like putting it in brine and then doing all this stuff, making a pile of dishes and messing with it for days on end. I would rather just cut it off the bird, wash it off quick, throw it in the freezer, take it out, finish trimming it, cube it up, deep fry it. I just don't think anything touches that.
That is very good, but I will say I don't know if it would be a close second, but it's a second place to it, in my opinion. How Texas barbecue places do turkey breasts, how they do their smoked turkey breasts. They do a lot of salt, a lot of pepper, and that's it. Kind of like how they do brisket in Texas. When you order sliced turkey from these barbecue places, they do it the same way. So I tried to do it on a turkey breast, and it was great, and I really enjoyed that. And then I made
Did
Alabama.
you brine it?
I can't remember if I did or not. I don't think so. Typically because I don't have the patience to do that.
Same.
But I made that, cut it in slices, and I had made Alabama white sauce with it, like that mayo based. It's like a mayo based kind of sauce. It's pretty good. I would say that if you can ever muster up the courage to not make turkey nuggets once, that's a good way to do it.
Try it that way.
Yeah.
And I'll go on the record. I will not say that I dislike turkey in any way, shape, or form. And the only way that I'll eat turkey is in nugget form. I like a good Thanksgiving turkey. Usually they just get dry really easy.
Yeah, and that's why I smoke them. I don't
the-
even put them in the oven. Smoker is way easier, or not easier, but way better in my opinion.
Yeah, and I did like a whole bird one year for Thanksgiving, like on the smoker, and it was good. they're just very temperature sensitive.
They are. Yes.
Right? There's not like a lot of fat.
Poultry in general is, and
Yeah. So, I agree. I love like turkey at a barbecue joint. I really like those big smoked turkey legs. I love those. But God, it's like flossing your teeth, with all the tendons and stuff.
I
Like the Swanson smoked turkey leg wrapped in bacon.
Ooh. I mean, I like all that. I would almost go on the record to say that I prefer turkey jerky over like beef jerky. I like a good turkey jerky is really good. But that's a good question. We've talked about cooking.
All right, so back to this tame turkey real quick. Sorry,
Yeah.
I got to ask you a question.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's tame and it's, I guess, anatomically different from a wild turkey.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would say most toms that are killed are 2 to 3 years old. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Right. So if you're
I'd say
killing
a 2-year-old is more common than a 3. It's hard to kill a 3-year-old bird.
Yeah.
So a 2-year-old bird, if you're killing and that's a nice tom.
Yeah.
It's 2 years old, and you're saying this bird is the tame bird.
Yeah. I mean, I would be surprised if they're 9 months.
Wow. So, random question: do you have any chicken farms around you, Mike?
Have turkey farms.
Obviously.
We don't have much. Yeah, we don't have much for not a lot of chickens.
Well, Eastern Shore has
Tons.
a ton of chicken.
So I just Googled it quick. It said domestic turkeys are typically slaughtered between 14 and 20 weeks of age.
Oh,
20 weeks. That's
5 months.
5 months.
So
Have you
I was way over guessing it when I was thinking.
Well, look,
You
like
guys have
8 or 9 months.
Have you guys seen the Netflix thing about, I think you remember the original Super Size Me movie?
yeah.
Well, so he came out with a second one. He's dead now, rest in peace. But they came out with a second one, and he was kind of like talking about the chicken industry. And basically, he was going from the chicken farm to a chicken fast food restaurant. Anyway, in this show, he showed the chickens that they were getting at that they were, breeding at the chicken farm, at the chicken house. And these like specific breed of like broiler chickens, I guess they're genetically modified to grow super, super fast.
Mm-hmm.
And pumped with steroids and
Yes.
growth hormone.
And a lot of them,
hormones.
you have a lot of waste in them just because these chickens have heart attacks because they're growing so fast.
Yep.
And like they just get too fat that they just keel over and die. So
How
like, I
long do you
wonder
think
if
it takes to get it from an egg to the table on average?
Oh my God, it can't be long. I know that he said it in this movie. It's probably
What did you say, Teddy? An
3
egg
months.
to the table?
Is it 3 months?
Egg to table.
3
Egg
months?
to table time.
Oh, I have no idea.
Less than
I bet
3
it's-
months.
Less than
Oh,
3 months?
I bet it. Yeah, has to be.
It's
One thing
56 days.
One thing I've never understood is how.
That's crazy.
Now,
Isn't
granted,
that wild?
now isn't a great time to talk about it, but like a couple of years ago would be a better example. Now that eggs are across the country anywhere from $6 to $18, I've never understood how, and I don't know how we got on this topic, but I don't know how a country can make any money on eggs. Like you used to be able to go to the store, you could buy a dozen eggs for $1.
Mm-hmm.
How what is the store? Now, granted, there's loss leaders and stuff like that too that you put in a store, but it's like
Like the Costco hot dog.
how much does a dozen eggs cost? Like cost to make? Like you have your chickens and a chicken lays an egg. So aside from like once you have the chicken and you feed it a little bit, it plops out 1 egg a day. But at $1 for a dozen, you're talking less than 10 cents per egg sale price.
Then you gotta truck it to the store, and you got
Yeah, well, right. Yeah.
You got to pay labor to pick it, Yeah. All that
You gotta
fun
heat-
stuff.
you
yeah,
gotta heat the
that one
barn.
doesn't make sense.
But
But I
anyways,
wonder if they're doing that with turkeys, with farm turkeys. I wonder if they're doing something similar where they're pumping these turkeys full of shit,
absolutely.
and they're some sort of genetically modified
all
turkey.
of the above, 100%.
I don't know what kind of chicken breast Sam's Club gets, but those things are bigger than any chicken I've ever seen. They're huge.
And I
Yeah.
don't think that those kind of chicken breasts taste very good.
I mean, I've kind of like, I used to love chicken breasts, but I've kind of stopped eating them.
Yeah, I'd rather eat a cut of beef. Anyway.
Do you guys like the tenderloin, like chicken tenderloins?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I like
like
chicken
so-
thighs.
yeah.
I like chicken thighs a lot more.
I think I like chicken thighs. I've in the last year and a half transitioned from really liking chicken breasts to boneless, skinless chicken thighs have skyrocketed to the top of my chicken list.
See, I can't get behind that.
You don't
No.
like dark meat chicken?
I can't. No, can't get behind it.
A chicken
I
thigh?
like a chicken breast and a chicken wing. Yeah. And if you cook a chicken breast right, I mean, I think it's better.
Teddy,
I
if
think there's more flavor on
oh
thighs.
yeah, 1,000%. I think that if you put
Way better.
the best chicken breast that you could possibly cook next to
Chicken
the
cutlet.
some of these
Breaded and fried chicken.
one of
Chicken cutlet.
these. I love
Yeah,
that.
well, you're Italian. I don't know why you're
I actually had one for
It's
lunch
a chicken
today.
cutlet.
I had one for lunch today. New shit.
Right. Come on, Petraglia. You cannot finish this sentence.
No, but I can still say that chicken thighs are good. I think that if you're
Oh.
going to grill a chicken breast and you're going to grill a chicken thigh, like the best way you could possibly do both of them, the chicken thigh is going to taste 1,000% better.
I'm going to have to agree.
See, I can't get behind that.
But if you put the best, see, this is where it's funny. If you put the best chicken thigh next to the best breaded and fried chicken cutlet,
You gotta go chicken cutlet. You gotta go chicken cutlet. Yeah. I mean, hands down, chicken cutlet wins.
Oh,
Okay.
you got
It's
me.
kind of
You
like
got me.
saying, it's like if Mike, ever had a bagel from like New York, New Jersey, and then he's like, I don't know, I kind of like bagels from Minnesota, he'd lose all credibility.
Anybody who knows my background knows that I love bagels.
Well, then you need to have a bagel from New York or New Jersey.
Probably.
They
yeah.
are, and Taylor ham or pork roll, depending on where you're at. So good.
I'll do it. I ain't scared.
Well, do you want to transition to my topic?
Go ahead, Ted.
This one's not a flashback. This one's present day.
Present day.
It's a hot topic right now. And the title of the forum is, what is Saskatchewan going to do next year for non-residents? So kind of current event, tariffy type of situation.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said that Saskatchewan is going to come out with, what are they going to do? They're going to shorten the season for a non-resident. Are they going to make it a draw? Are they going to restrict basically U.S. hunters and U.S. outfitters and guides from going across the border and using a Canadian natural resource?
I would say 100% Canada would. I don't know how they could. I mean, obviously there's some beef right now going on between the U.S. and Canada regarding trade tariffs and stuff like that. And we'll talk about that more in a little bit, as it very much so directly applies to our hobbies and pastime here. I would for sure say that Canada is going to raise their taxes on all out-of-state workers, or out of country, they're non-resident workers. So I would say all of your outfitters that are going to Canada, I would have to expect that they are going to extremely jack up the price. So like take Corey, for example, and we'll have to have him on to see, because obviously he's, a guide in Canada, in Saskatchewan. I would have to think that if Corey goes there and he's filing his taxes, that things are probably going to look a lot different, because even in the States, they ask you when you're filling out your federal taxes, did you earn money in any other state? Did you go to another state to work? I would have to think it's very much so the same, because each state wants their share of income taxes for labor that was,
conducted in their state.
Conducted in their state. I would have to think that Canada is going to probably do the same, in the same ways they'll be like, well, you guys are trying to move manufacturing back to your country and out of ours. Well, maybe we want to hire more Canadian-based outfitters.
Yeah, I mean,
Except half of the Canadian-based outfitters come from here.
Correct.
well, you got
Well,
but you got to think that they're going to favor.
Yeah.
They're going to favor that other half. Where if you have a permanent residency in Canada, they're going to they're going to treat you like gold compared to somebody who's on a work permit crossing
Right.
the border for 2 months.
But
you know?
who pays to go and hunt in Canada? Americans.
Right.
Mostly.
Mostly Americans. Yep. Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't surprise. There's duty. Like you pay duty on stuff that you're bringing across. If you're going to Canada, depending on what you're bringing, you're allowed, X amount of shells or X amount of alcohol, X amount of tobacco. I would say that your duty charges are probably going to go higher. Because right now, I feel like it's kind of like just a big like middle finger. And unfortunately, not everybody in the United States obviously is really excited about these tariffs and the way that all of this negotiating and stuff is being done, right? So you have a lot of people that live in Canada, say you're Canadian farmers. What I think and what I've been hearing people say is, I don't think it's going to be just as easy. You come showing up with a USA license plate on your pickup to knock on a door to get permission to hunt this barley field right next to this farmer's house. You might have a gun pointed at you.
No, yeah, it might be way more expensive.
Yeah, I mean, because and it has nothing to do with that farmer, and it unfortunately has nothing to do with that guy knocking on the door. But we're kind of lumped into I'm an American, I'm a Canadian kind of thing. You guys are screwing us. You're trying. You're screwing us kind of deal. There's a lot of opinions there. I think that there's going to be a lot more hostility. It seems to be that way. Now, whether or not they can work out a deal that works for both sides, that could be another story too. But I've just been seeing a lot of things, and there are some people that I'm friends with on Facebook, from just through the waterfall industry, right? A lot of us here have random people from across the country that are heavy into waterfall hunting. That's how we become mutual friends. But there's a lot of them, you see their posts and it's like kind of middle finger to you, and other posts of people in the US are kind of middle finger to them. They're trying to screw us back and forth kind of deal. I think there's some hostility there. I don't think that life is going to be as easy as it once was to just, hey, we're going to hook up to the trailer come mid-October. We're going to drive north of the border and go hunt some birds.
I don't think
Yeah.
that they like the 51st state thing.
Well, some of them don't.
That could
Alberta does.
that very well could be part of it too. And
It's really of an interesting. I mean, it's at 24 pages now and counting. And I mean, the thread is interesting because you've got people from Canada chiming in, you've got people who cross the border chiming in, and you've got people from Arkansas chiming in and comparing it to what they did in the WMAs in Arkansas, where they're outlawing, out-of-state hunters in the WMAs. I mean, it's a pretty interesting going back and forth, But from what I see, most Canadians want to either limit freelancers and their time frame that they spent up there, or they want to limit guides, and they want to basically limit the time frame that the guides and the outfitters from the U.S. can be there. It's pretty wild to see what's going on, and like, half of them have horror stories about interacting with U.S. guides or U.S. outfitters, and then half of them say that it's about the natural resource of Canada, and they're not respecting this, that, and the other. It's pretty wild. I mean, if you play the what if game, right? Like, what if Canada either A, prevents all U.S. guides and all U.S. outfitters from crossing the border and working legally in Canada, or B, taxes the hell out of them and doesn't make it,
worth
economically worth going up there. I mean, if that's the case, and they take out all of the U.S. operated outfitters, what do you think that's going to do to the resource? Is it going to be that much more better, or is it going to be, do you think populations are going to just skyrocket now because half of the birds with eggshells on their heads aren't getting killed, or maybe more than half?
Corey, there'll be a lot more pintails.
Yeah, a lot more hen pintails won't be shot.
Well, Teddy, you can kind of understand part of this where they're coming from, because how do you feel when you see a PA tag at your hunting spot?
Well, I don't hunt anymore, Mike, but when I did, or Matt, I don't hunt anymore, but when I did, yeah, I mean, it was obviously, it's obviously not fun to see that, but
You feel
You
like
know,
people are encroaching a little bit.
yeah, I don't
I mean, I know how
necessarily.
I feel. I know how I feel when I see PA tags, and I share the same sentiment to a certain extent. But also, I realize that like it's I don't own this place if we're talking about public land, but like it it's it's weird. Like, you kind of feel territorial to a certain extent, but also it's like, is it really a justified feeling?
Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, it's really curious to see what would happen. I mean, I
Well, I
mean, if
think
you
it's
talk about
fair to.
Canada hunting in general, like if they just cut down the number of outfitters, because I mean, you hear some of the numbers that these outfitters are putting up,
Hmm.
talking 6, 7, 8, 9,000 birds a year.
Hmm.
Like if they cut out half of the outfitters, I don't know how many outfitters are in Canada, but let's call it 100, and they take out 50 of them. I mean,
Is this
50,
just
that's
Saskatchewan?
45,000 extra birds that are going to be in a flyway.
I would say I would have to think that unless it's going to be province up to like each province discretion,
I'm sorry, it's
I would.
450,000 extra birds in a flyway,
It's a lot.
right?
They might do. I
Um,
mean, I could see it working if they did what Maryland did on the Susquehanna Flats, where if you're hunting, you need to be with a Maryland resident. Like if you're hunting the Susquehanna Flats, you need to be hunting with a
mhm.
Maryland resident. Now, maybe they adopt something similar to if you are hunting there, because we're just talking about Saskatchewan, right? Just Saskatchewan. It's huge, but
Yeah.
um, maybe they adopt something where it's like that. Like if you're hunting here, you need to be with maybe even just a Canadian resident,
Hmm. Yeah,
not
I
not
mean,
not just a resident of Saskatchewan.
yeah, I think there's a lot of different things they could do, and I think it just depends on how hard they want to make it,
Yeah.
and I think it just depends on attitude. And I think like going back and looking through this forum, you're going to have people from Canada that are on both that are. I don't know that I would say I haven't read through all of it that they would say that they're on both sides of the fence, but you certainly have some people that are, they're kind of just like, oh, whatever. It's not my choice that this is happening. You also have people that are very passionate about what's going on. It's interesting for
Who do
sure.
you think cares the most about this?
Oof, that's a hard question. Who I would
It's
probably
certainly it's
say
certainly not the farmers. I can tell you that they don't care.
I would probably say local Canada hunters would probably care more.
Yeah, your local, yeah, certainly your local guys, like if having outfitters that have a ton of land locked up around them that get first dibs on stuff, like, and it depends on the outfitter too, right? If your outfitter, if the guy that owns the outfitter is a pretty good guy, he knows a lot of people, like you're in Canada, if you're in a good area, you have more birds than you could probably shoot. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
And if you got a couple guys that want to go hunt a whatever, like some of them are going to be like, yeah, no big deal. You guys want to go out there and hunt? We're going to be over here. You be over there. Good luck. You know. But I also think there's outfitters that want to have every single field, every single bird is theirs, and you see that in the States too. That isn't just
Yeah.
a U.S. thing or a Canada thing. It's like if you're in my area, every one of these birds is mine.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I own them. Like, no, you're not going to go hunt here. No, you're not going to do that. Like, I would. Who cares more about it? Well, I think all your US based outfitters probably care about it a lot because it's potentially cutting out a huge portion of their income.
It's
Hmm.
a large portion of their income.
Yeah. Um, and I think your local people in Canada, on the flip side of that coin, probably are not going to be butthurt to have less hunting pressure in their area
That.
if said laws are put into place, right?
Yep. Hmm.
So I could see how people would want to push for that. If you were like, hey, I now have a hard right now I have a hard time getting on good fields and the hunting is harder because I have a local outfitter who's close to me. If he was gone, guess what my hunting season now looks like?
Yeah.
a
I wish
lot
Corey
better.
was on this for this topic. I'd like to ask him because I thought I heard
Yeah.
one time that it was illegal to pay farmers, or not illegal, but you can't pay farmers the rights to hunt a field or something like that. Like you can't lease a field for hunting.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I know like so like Mitch, for example, when Mitch Hughes and where Corey's working, like I think he has to pay for his. They have to like buy regions. I think from like they have to buy a little territory within the territory.
Yeah, they have to pay for outfitter's license, from what I'm seeing here.
Right,
I
but
don't.
I
I don't
think
necessarily know.
yeah, we'll have to get Corey on. We're kind of moving along here, but definitely an interesting topic.
Well, that and yeah, I mean it's definitely going to affect the number of birds. I mean, if Canada prevents U.S. outfitters from crossing the border and forces U.S. outfitters to shut down, not only is that going to hurt the GDP of Canada, but man, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot of outfitters' pockets, but it's going to help the number of birds. You got to think it's going to.
I mean, and then the other thing too, like for Canada, you cut out on all like if you cut way down on non-resident hunting, unless you're gonna still allow it, but you're jacking up your non-resident licenses.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, I would have to think if I was in their position and I'm a little butthurt about what's going on, I'm probably gonna raise my prices a little bit,
Yeah.
kind of stick it to you guys a little bit, So instead of paying, if it's $250 for a Canadian hunting license, maybe I'm upping it to $350.
Yeah.
I'll still let you guys come here, but you're going to pay a little more for it, right?
Yeah.
How much money does it take for it to be worth to let you guys come here and use and abuse our resource a little bit? You know what I mean?
I mean, that's if Canada. I mean, Canada has to protect that resource. That's kind of what they're known for. You would think, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if you compare it to the small sample size of what, say, South Dakota does or Arkansas, what they do, where South Dakota, all non-residents have to draw for a tag. So what if you have to draw for a tag in order to be an outfitter?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and if you don't get to draw for the tag,
I think that's why you don't see a ton of outfitters in South Dakota.
right?
Because you have that big variable. You don't know if you're going to get drawn or not. So how do I pre-book people not knowing that they're getting drawn?
Right.
Where you're non-draw states, it's like, oh, you want to come here, and I think Corey has been saying the same thing, like with his turkey hunts
in Kansas,
or with their deer hunts. All of a sudden, it was like, hey, I could book 45 people a spring and take them out. We get our birds. Well, now all of a sudden, that gets if it's a every other year draw, well, that just cut your people in half.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this year it sounds like there might be even like that. So many people are applying that it might be even less than that. Mm-hmm. So, like that, makes a big difference there too.
Yeah, and look what So if again, I'm not completely well versed on it, but didn't Arkansas ban non-hunters from hunting Arkansas-owned WMAs? Non-residents can't hunt Arkansas WMAs.
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure that happened where you couldn't hunt or something like that, like certain times of the year. I mean, people are going to go to Arkansas to hunt ducks. It's just going to shift the pressure and the demand for private land more. It's going to increase leasing prices dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
So now a farm that would be $10,000 could be 15 or 20.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's going to push out even more local guys, which is kind of what you see around here too. Not necessarily like, we have public land in Maryland, but the amount of land that we can hunt that is private that you can lease, like good land, the people from out of state come in and lease it, and that just drives the price up even higher and higher and higher to the point where somebody's paying $50,000 for a 600-acre farm. It's not even worth it.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty wild. Let's see what would happen. I don't know. It's a good topic.
Well, and you kind of touched on kind of this next little topic here. We're on a little bit long, but you kind of are a little bit on the inside with like this whole tariff thing, right, Ted? Like you're dealing with this a lot because you work for a company that builds stuff both in the U.S., you have stuff built in other countries, different things like that. And kind of the hot topic right now that we're seeing, whether it's the stock market, these tariffs, like all of
In
these
all
different
industries,
things
really.
in all, and yeah, it certainly isn't just the outdoor industry. That's probably a drop in the bucket compared to everything else.
Yeah.
Can you explain kind of what these tariffs, I mean, I'm not super well versed in it. What are these tariffs looking like for, say, our industry in the outdoor sporting good industry?
Well,
And
I
what do
mean,
they mean?
so by no means am I an expert or an economist or can predict anything of what's going to happen, and it's a very fluid situation that changes on a daily
Hmm.
basis. We're recording this on Wednesday night, and it could change midnight tomorrow, midnight tonight. It could change tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock. We have no idea.
Hmm.
So, as it stands today, there's a lot of products that are in the outdoor industry, specifically waterfowling, bigger products, injection molded products that are made in China. And if these tariffs hold, most of your stuff that they're bringing in for, say, your box stores and whatnot are going to be probably on the water or being made currently, and they're going to see as of today, U.S. is tariffing anything that is being brought over from China at 125%. So the value of something that is called $100, then you have to pay $125 just to pull it off the boat at the port
Hmm.
for each item. And
Hmm.
so this is going to cause, again, unless something changes, this is going to cause some of your China-made stuff to skyrocket
Hmm.
for a temporary time frame, and it just brings up, everyone, the U.S. economy is one of the most profitable. I think it is the most valuable economy in the world, and if we continue to bring in this product from overseas, then it's going to be crazy expensive.
Hmm.
Now, trying to be as politically correct as possible. Um, products like decoys, blind bags, some flags, anything that's not made in the United States. You'll see a
A lot of
large,
clothing.
a lot of clothing, a lot of hats, a lot of that stuff. Anything with stitches or zippers, um, yeah, you'll probably see that go through the roof.
Hmm.
If these tariffs hold, we don't know if they're going to hold. No one knows if they're going to hold. I think there's only one person in the world that knows if these tariffs are going to hold, and that
Yeah.
is President Trump. And it puts me in a hard position, man, because I understand the tariff. Like, I understand why he's doing it. I understand, it's why he's tariffing China specifically. It's just a hard conversation to have with some of the customers and
For
consumers
sure.
and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and we're starting to see a lot of that. Like that's kind of the trendy thing buzzing around. Like if you scroll, even just before we recorded this, you scroll through your Facebook, everything I'm seeing, like, say, Ridge wallets, for example.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these companies are running big sales right now because there's obviously a lot of uncertainty, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of uncertainty in the market. We've had the last
I
few
just went and
days.
bought a new iPhone last week just because, like,
I was
if
seeing
the
that it's
tariffs
it's going to
hold,
be a huge increase on phones,
yeah,
like a lot of your electronics and stuff. Yep.
a new iPhone, if the tariffs hold, the new iPhone, which costs $1,200 today, could cost $3,000 in a month.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
So I mean, and like the stock market, is kind of going up and down. I think today we had a big skyrocket again from what I was seeing. I don't follow that. I just keep doing my thing. But
yeah.
there's a lot of uncertainty, like with what's going to happen. So it's like, okay, these tariffs are coming. It's a real good way for people to drive sales right now. Buy this stuff now before you have to pay more. Well, it puts a lot of money in these companies' pockets. They're kind of selling fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it isn't necessarily fear because we know that this is more than likely going to take effect.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, hey, I have a ton of shovels. Buy your shovels now because a snowstorm is coming.
Yeah,
I'm gonna sell a lot of shovels. But
it's
if the
pretty
storm
wild.
doesn't hit, then everybody has it, you know. So it's unfortunate. And I think it's gonna make for a very expensive, you know, for somebody who doesn't have gear and this is kind of their year that they're wanting to dive into waterfall hunting or deer hunting or any sport that requires a good amount of gear, right?
It's going to make
It's
your entry
it's tough
into
for this
like
for the next.
waterfowling is an expensive sport. You got to have a ton of fucking shit, you know?
Mhm.
Like
A lot.
I look at the stuff that you would take turkey hunting versus the stuff that you take duck hunting. You got one decoy versus dozens. You don't have a well. I mean, you could probably get away with a kayak, or you probably don't need a boat turkey hunting. I have a boat. Then there's fuel in the truck. Then there's cost. Then there's all this shit that you just don't need when you go, you know, say deer hunting. It's gonna make the entry for a new waterfowler pretty expensive. And we've already talked about the number of waterfowlers, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's pretty wild to see what's happening. I mean, it's, you know,
I never really thought of that. I mean, like, so say you're a diehard turkey hunter and you bought the most expensive, aside even like say your gun, you know, say you buy a $2,000 Benelli or
yeah.
Beretta. Besides that, how hard would it be to spend $3,000 on turkey hunting stuff?
I think it'd be
Because
pretty hard.
I think it'd be hard too. Like, okay, you buy the best boots, $300. You buy the best pants, we'll say $200. You buy the best top, $200. You buy the best vest, $200. Okay, so we're $800 into a full outfit. You buy a bottle of Sawyer's. Say you spend $300 on calls. And that's, I mean,
How are
$300
you
is
going
going
to
to get
spend
you.
three? Well, I guess I mean you could
You
get a
could
handmade
get like
box
a
call
you
and
could get like a
handmade
nice.
pot call.
Just say, yeah, but you spend $200 on diaphragms and you get a $60 slate call,
Yeah,
and a $60 box call or something. I mean, you're gonna get a crow call. I guess you could spend $100 on an owl hooter,
right.
but like a crow call or something, like, you know what I mean? Like, to spend, now you look at, say, I'm gonna get into waterfall hunting. You're gonna
By
spend
myself. By
by
myself.
yourself. By the time you buy, you know, your clothes, even if you go middle of the road, I think it'd be hard to have everything you need for 3 grand.
I would
It'd be
agree. I
very
mean,
hard.
you
You're not.
eliminate like okay, so they both need a gun, right? So you buy a gun that matches both, so you can remove that cost.
Mhm.
But you know, and you don't know what's successful or not because you're just getting into the sport, right? But you know, decoys.
There's
You buy a
there's
dozen.
no end to decoys.
Right, there's no end to it. Like you always buy decoys, but let's say you get a cheap thing of flambeau decoys or whatever, and you know spend what
Still a couple $100.
$200 on a dozen duck decoys, and you need goose decoys, and then you need you've got to have
Field
pants,
decoys.
jackets, multiple pants and multiple jackets.
Waders.
Waders,
Waders are not $100 anymore
$600 to $1,000. Yeah, I mean
for a decent pair of waders. Yeah.
yeah, I would say minimum before you buy shells, you're messing up every bit of $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's
I mean
expensive.
it is. Yeah, every duck call now is pretty much $175 to $200 if you buy a good one.
And you put four of them around your neck.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's nothing to have $600-700 hanging around your neck easy enough.
yeah, I mean, like the tariffs, it is what it is, right? I mean, I support it because I see where it's going to go, and I kind of have an idea of what he's trying to do, and China knocking off all of the products that are made overseas for decades.
And that's a big thing that we kind of want to touch base on, that I don't think a lot of people realize, or they just simply overlook, is how much knockoff stuff comes out of China.
Look at all the Nike shoes that they've been knocking off for years,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you can buy a pair of Nikes from China for like $30, but those same shoes that are authentic have a resale value of $2,000,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's a resale value.
Yeah,
I
mean,
do
like
follow that TikTok where they're
your
like,
clothing. There's a lot of like knockoff clothing. Now, the tough thing, I think, what a lot of people don't realize, like in China too, is they don't exactly make it super easy to do business with either.
Mm-mm.
So, you know, at one point in time, like when I was working for Molt Gear, like Scott was looking at getting into a decoy company. So the problem with that, you know, there was a company that was for sale. He was kind of looking to getting into that. And he calls me one night, you know, like the night before he's supposed to sign papers on like becoming majority owner of this decoy company. And he's like, Mike, I need to just do some numbers. Let me run these by you. And it's like by the time you factor in all of the cost for getting decoys made, you know, you have to have somebody over there to make these decoys to oversee it. So you have like that little bit of a barrier, you know, a person from the US going to China, you have to be on the same page about what you're producing, right?
Yeah.
So you have a lot of cost in that. Then you have to get them here. And the biggest problem, I think, and Avery saw this, for those of you that have been in the waterfowl hunting for a long time, in the early to mid 2000s, when Avery was first starting to bring their like full body, like pro series, like, you know, before their FFDs, they had like their hunter series, and they had some pro series. When those decoys were getting here, they had many containers that showed up that they didn't prep the plastic right, and the paint would just slough right off the back of the decoys. You'd
Yep.
pull them out of the box, you'd take the plastic off, and you would have a huge section of paint just not even attached. So what does Avery do? They go, hey, China, you guys sent us 5 containers. What do they say? Too bad.
Oh, well.
They don't stand behind their product at all.
Mm-mm.
But the vast majority of it, I would say. Now, I don't know a ton of these people, but that's the gamble you take with China. You're paying everything up front. It's not, okay, here's 10%. I want you guys to make this. You'll pay the rest when it ships. It's no, you pay us all of it. We're going to build it. And you better sit over there in the United States and hope that when it gets to you, that it's what you wanted, and it's the quality that you wanted.
Yep.
Now, the little bit of experience that I have with that is obviously in China, one, they're very good at replicating products. You bring them a sample, they're going to make the exact same thing to where you probably can't even tell the difference between yours and theirs. But they also have different tiers in how things are made, right? So if you brought them a blind bag, they'll make you one that will cost probably $8 to be made. But it's going to be shitty stitching. It's going to be shitty material. It's not going to be very good quality. Now they'll also be able to make you one that might cost you $80. So we're talking $150. And that one actually is probably going to be pretty damn good quality. But you are paying for it. And where do most people wind up? You have to find, what retail price am I looking to hit with this product? That's the one that you have to go with, right?
Yeah.
And you probably see that with some of your stuff too, right, Ted? Like,
Yeah.
if you're going to get a fishing bait made, they can make you one that looks just like the one you want, but the hooks are going to be garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And the paint might not be as good.
It doesn't
they can
swim
make-
the same way. It doesn't
Yes.
have all. It might have most of the features, but it won't have
in the
all.
box. In the box, it's going to look about the same until
Yeah.
you go to use it.
Oh yeah, and you'll see those Chinese knockoffs. I mean, they're prevalent in whatever industry that you want to talk about. They're
Yep.
everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because they're making them, right? If they're making
Correct.
hundreds of thousands of your product, like they're going to try and why? I mean, it's almost like, of course they're going to, right?
Yeah, that's your whole kind of like Alibaba website. I mean, that's all like pretty much anything you can go on there, and it's like,
yeah.
yeah, you're just buying it direct from China for whatever quality that they're saying. Then you just kind of hope you get it,
Right.
right? And again, they don't have to stand by anything.
No. But, I mean, a lot of our stuff that's made in the United States, that's a little bit different. Obviously we still have some of the same production issues that any manufacturing plant is going to have.
Mhm.
You'll have your defectives from time to time
Yep.
that you'll catch it, but you just don't have the amount of loss that you would say with until you get someone dialed in at the plant. Like if you have a bad plant in China, then everything is going to come screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's where it's someone's job to be able to go back and forth and negotiate with good factories versus bad factories and good sourcing versus bad sourcing. It's a whole market over there on how to get the right product and figure it all out. And with these tariffs, everything's going to change. So, my prediction is you'll probably see a lot more. I don't know if you'll see it right away, but you'll see more products being toted made in the USA. You'll start seeing more stuff being produced locally, because that's the goal of the tariffs, is to increase in-house manufacturing and keep the jobs in America, right? So, yeah, I think to wrap this topic up without trying to get in too much trouble here, it's things are going to change with the tariffs, but things are also going to change with how business is done inside the United States, and hopefully it's for the good, because I know myself, I would much rather buy a product made in the United States. I would be willing to pay a little bit more of a premium in order to get that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But
For sure.
I'm sure that there's people on both sides of the coin. I'm not sure how many left sides of the coin that we have listening to our podcast, but
right. Yeah, for sure. But the hard thing, and I'll say this, and we talked about this off air, like I'm guilty of it too. If you have a product that is traditionally going to retail, we're buying it now, it's getting made in China, and we purchase it here in the US for $10. And now that company switches their product. Now it's getting made in the United States, but it's going to cost me $35. It's going to be a little bit tougher to be able to justify that.
Right.
If we do that across the full spectrum of everything that, as a consumer, not just outdoor industry related, that I buy, if all of a sudden everything is going to be triple the price to buy it in the US, then I'm going to have triple the income coming in somewhere, whether it's in the form of, there's been grumblings about like income taxes being cut or eliminated. Yeah. Things like that. Okay. Well, that could be
call them grumblings. I would call them rumors.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah. And if that's the way that the world is going to be, where if everything costs, 30% more, but I'm paying 30% in income taxes, well, what an easy way for me to be able to afford those things than to just not charge me for that.
Right.
It's a break-even process. You're going to charge me 30% more, pay me 30% more, or at least let me keep my 30% you're currently taking.
Correct. Yep.
So, all right. Well, enough politics, Ted. Yeah, let's cut to the meat and potatoes of what we have going on this week.
We're making these guys listen to 51 minutes worth of bullshit here.
Yeah, bullshit.
Find out
Total
why
bullshit.
They actually tuned in.
Yes.
Okay, so for those listeners that have competed in, or those who are following the online live duck open contest, it was open to any callers of any skill range, and we received 20 total registrations, which for an online open contest is pretty good. I feel like we probably would have got more if we made it novice, but
yeah, probably.
There's a few names in here that I recognize. There's a few names in here that I don't recognize.
I thought quite a few new names, I thought, which is good to see.
A lot of, actually, more names I don't recognize than names that I do. But let's talk cut. So how do you want to work this? Do you want to cut it to?
I'm going to leave that up to you because I'm a judge, and you're the scorekeeper, or the person that's recording scores.
True. So I'm going to try and make it the most fairest cut, where we'll keep the majority of the contestants, and then cut about, I'd say a little bit less than half. So we're going to try and do a 40% cut here, and 30-40%. And I'm going to call off the names. Let me just make sure I got my formatting correct. Hold on a second. Hold on. Here we go. Okay. Sorry, I got to do some sorting so I don't read the wrong names. All right. So unfortunately, you're a judge, so whatever. You already know the names of the contestants because they have to send the message in. So, in no particular order, I'm going to call off the names of the callers that made it. All right. So, first caller that made it is going to be Adam Glass. Then it's going to be Dax Piper, Ethan McPeak, Tyler Heaton, Joe Hansen, John Casey, Kevin Cook, Brandon Falwell, Mason Tate, Seth Roussel, Dominic Corello, Tanner Frock, and Chance Wadsworth, or Chad Wigglesworth, depending on how you pronounce his name. So that should be a total of 13 guys. So we cut it from 20 to 13.
It's a good cut.
Yep. So
Awesome.
those 13 names, I'll read them again so you guys don't have to rewind. Yeah. I just lost it. Hold on a second. Adam Glass, Dax Piper, Ethan McPeak, Tyler Heaton, Joe Hansen, John Casey, Kevin Cook, Brandon Falwell, Mason Tate, Seth Roussel, Dominic Corello, Tanner Frock, and Chance Wadsworth. Those callers have till the end of this coming weekend, right? Till Monday, I think we said.
Yeah.
I want to say it was either, I think it was Monday or Sunday night or Monday. I can't remember. Matt, do you?
Matt has
remember?
it written down.
They have until the 13th.
The 13th. So that would be Monday?
Is that correct?
Sunday night. Midnight at Sunday night. You have
Midnight
until
Sunday night.
midnight
That gives
Sunday
us
night.
like a day and a half to have the judges get in their scores, and then we can announce the third round contestants, people who are making it to the third round, by like Tuesday, Wednesday, whenever we record next week's podcast to air next Thursday.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah. So if we got to record Wednesday, we should be. I don't have a problem doing that. But whatever. And then last topic, more for Matt, not necessarily for Mike, but maybe for Mike. I mean, it's the greatest week. It's the greatest week in sports. Right now.
It is.
I don't know if you can rip off the sound and cue the sound, but it is Masters week.
It is. Probably can't. But
falling
It's the
asleep
Super Bowl
already.
of golf.
yeah.
What do you got?
In my one and done, I chose Colin Morikawa.
To win.
Yes.
Okay.
Strategy behind that, I think everybody else is going to take Rory and Scotty.
I don't know anything about golf. I was gonna say Scotty Scheffler.
So that goes to show.
Not
I
a
think-
bad pick.
I think everybody else is going to take Rory and Scotty Scheffler. I think Rory's playing very good golf. Given history, I just don't know if Rory's going to do it. Scotty Scheffler is always in contention. I feel like he hasn't played his best golf this year, though. But
Yeah, he's
would
my
be
pick.
but would be a hell of a time to play his best golf. So
Like, do you know the names of any other golfers?
I know names of golfers. I don't watch golf. It's just not my thing because I don't. If I'm gonna go golf, I just want to go to the driving range, hit some balls, and that's it.
Which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, because I don't want to go to a course, pay more. I mean, driving the cart is fine, but I'm just gonna hit the ball and I'm gonna spend the next 20 minutes trying to find it.
I'm going to warn you, that's how I got suckered into golf.
Yeah.
I used to love going to the driving range, and the driving range was it. And then my buddies were like, come on, why don't you just play 18 and see if you like it? And I was like, all right. First hole, I chipped in for a birdie, and it was like my life was over from then on out.
It's like the first time you broke over a goose call.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
So-
Actually, it was a spit note for me. The first time I figured out a
Yep.
spit note, that was
I
it.
hear you. Same.
Yep.
Yep.
And I was driving while doing it. I remember exactly where I was. Yeah. Isn't that weird?
Mm-hmm.
My
Parents'
pick,
living room.
my number one pick, I have money on Colin Morikawa, and I know it's a waste of money because he lets me down every year. I had him winning last year, and then he blew it on 11. But I think I'm gonna go with a dark horse pick, a longer shot. I like Joaquin Neiman.
Oh, dude, I have money on him too.
Joaquin Neiman.
I got a lot of plays.
I got a nice top 5 pick. I got Ludwig Ehrberg, Rory, and Joaquin in my top
Mhm.
5, and Yeah, and then I've got a lot of hate picks out there, so I like my miss the cut picks. Those are some
Yeah,
of my
who are
favorites.
some of them?
I've got my top, another one of my bets I really like is top amateur, not amateur, top debutant, top Masters debut player
Oh.
is Maverick McNeely, and my miss the cut pick is uh, Dustin Johnson. Dustin Johnson, Max Homa, and then my long shot miss the cut is Bryson DeChambeau.
Oh my gosh, that'd be something. That'd be
Hmm.
something. Max Homa hasn't been playing good golf. Anyway. All right, we're at about an hour here. I think that we
Yeah.
covered a lot tonight. Congrats to everybody who is moving on.
Absolutely. Yeah, we appreciate everybody who signed up for the contest and participated. We hope to see, a lot of you guys out at the tournament trail here this summer. And we appreciate you guys always tuning in each week. Let us know what you guys think, whether you're from Canada, if you're a Canadian listener. I know we have a decent, audience from Canada. Let us know what you guys think about this whole, U.S. and Canada interaction here for this upcoming hunting season. And let us know your thoughts, too, on like what you think these tariffs are going to be. Let's try to keep it clean. Obviously, anything politics can get a little bit heated, but
Yeah.
let us know what your guys' thoughts are. So we appreciate you guys tuning in, and thanks for listening to another episode of The Hail Call.